Question 5, part A. We're asked to factorize this expression here. So the first step of factorizing is to look to see if there's a highest common factor, if there's something everything can be divided by. Both of these terms have an h in it, so we can take h out as a common factor, leaving us with that divided by h will be 7, that divided by h will be h, and what's on the inside here, there's nothing more to factorize, so that is our answer. Second part, expand and simplify. So we have to break out these brackets by multiplying 4 with this p and 4 with this 5. We then have to break out the other set of brackets. That's 7 times the p and 7 times a negative 2, giving us a negative 14. Then have to be careful as we combine these terms. We have a 4p plus a 7p, which is going to give us an 11p as part of our answer. And then we're going to end up with a plus 20, take away 14, which will give us a plus 6 in our answer. So 11p plus 6. Next part, d equals 7, c squared plus f. So we are given c as being minus 2. We are given f as being 5. When we substitute these in, we should be very careful and put brackets around it. Main reason for that is when you sub in negative 2 in for c, you've got to be careful with how you square it. You can technically, you don't have to, but when you're subbing in positive numbers, if you put them in brackets as well, then it means that you'll be in the habit of always putting it in brackets, which for negative numbers, you want to be in that position. And we can then just plug that into the calculator exactly as we see it, and we're going to end up with 33. Part D, solve 5 bracket q minus 3 close bracket equals 12 minus q. So first thing we're going to want to do is break out this bracket similar to what we had earlier. 5 times that q and 5 times negative 3 will give us a negative 15. Now I've got an equation where it's a linear equation. First thing I want to do is get all the q's on one side, you know, the equal sign in between. So there's more q's on the left, which means I want to get rid of the q's on the right. So a plus q is what's going to cancel out that minus q. That will give me a 6q on the left-hand side. Whether or not you choose to take 2 steps for this, or you can do it in one like what I'm about to do, because of the fact that we want our letters on the left, we do not want that spare number there on the left. So I can add 15 to both sides in order to make that cancel. So it's kind of like a 2 for the price of 1 here. If we do that, we'll end up with 27 on the right-hand side. And if we divide both sides by 6, we're going to end up with 4.5 or 9 over 2. If you want to write it as a fraction simplified. Part E, solve the inequality. So we're solving, which means we're trying to get the letter on its own. We've just got to be careful in terms of how we rearrange it, because whenever you're dealing with an inequality, if you ever multiply or divide by a negative number, that will change the side. Now there's 2 ways you can do this. One of the ways is you identify that there's a negative 7t, and we realize, you know what, I don't really want to have to deal with that. I'd rather have the t's on the right hand side where they're positive. So if I add 7t to both sides, that will make this happen. If you do that, you will end up with the following, after which we're going to take away 31 from both sides, and then we're going to divide both sides by 7, giving us minus 4 is greater than or equal to t. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it would be to say, well, you know what, I'm just going to leave that t term where it is. I'm going to leave that minus 7t, which means I am going to get rid of the 3. I want to make this disappear, so I'm going to take away 3 from both sides, giving us the following inequality. Minus 7t is greater than or equal to 28. Now here comes the problem. When you divide both sides by negative 7, which is what you're going to need to do in order to get t on its own, anytime you multiply or divide by a negative, what you're going to have to do is reverse the inequality. So that greater than or less than is going to turn into a less than, greater than or equal to is going to turn into a less than or equal to, because when you multiply by negatives, you basically reverse the order of size. What was bigger is now smaller, and vice versa. And that's us. Either way, these two are both exactly the same thing, just written differently. Done.